Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Ferdinand Decena. Today, we're going to dive deep into a topic that I know touches many of our patients, knee osteoarthritis. We're not just going to discuss the knee, we're going to talk about it through the lens of lifestyle medicine. As someone who practices both rehab medicine and lifestyle medicine, I've seen firsthand the incredible power of bringing these two fields together. Today, we're talking about the unified approach to knee osteoarthritis, not just a treatment, but how this integrated perspective truly transform knee health for our patients. As a rehab medicine specialist, my world revolves around maximizing function and improving quality of life, often through non-pharmacological means. And that's precisely why I'm so excited to be speaking with all of you today, my lifestyle medicine colleagues. We are at the forefront of addressing root causes. And when it comes to knee osteoarthritis, our philosophies align perfectly. Our goal today is to really bridge the gap, to show you how a solid understanding of rehabilitation principles can amplify your lifestyle interventions for knee osteoarthritis. This isn't just about managing symptoms, it's about transforming lives because knee osteoarthritis, as we know, is a chronic condition that can severely impact someone's ability to live fully. So, what are we hoping to achieve together today? By the end of our time, I want you to walk away with a deeper understanding of what's really happening inside that osteoarthritic knee beyond the wear and tear narrative. We'll then pivot to our wheelhouse, how lifestyle factors are absolutely critical. We'll look at the specific evidence-based non-pharmacological interventions that are the backbone of rehab. And then, most importantly, we'll talk about how you, as LM practitioners, can practically integrate these strategies into your existing practice. Finally, we'll touch on the power of collaboration because truly it takes a village to manage chronic conditions like this. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is knee osteoarthritis? For too long, knee osteoarthritis has been dismissed as simply wear and tear, like an old car with worn out tires. And while it does involve the breakdown of articular cartilage, that smooth, slippery surface that allows our bones to glide over each other, it's much more complex than that. It's a chronic degenerative joint disease, yes, but it affects the entire joint. We're talking about the bone beneath the cartilage, the joint lining, the synovium, the ligaments, and even the muscles around the knee. It's a dynamic process, often with an inflammatory component, which is a key link for all of us in lifestyle medicine. It leads to pain, stiffness, and ultimately limitations in what people can do every day. Let's zoom in on that beyond wear and tear concept. It's not just a passive wearing down. Think of it like this. Your joint is a complex ecosystem. In knee osteoarthritis, there's an imbalance almost like a factory where the breakdown team is working overtime and the repair team is on strike. We see cartilage degrading faster than it can be replaced. But simultaneously, the bone underneath the cartilage is trying to compensate by getting thicker or forming cysts. Critically, we see the synovial inflammation or synovitis, where the joint lining gets inflamed and releases these pro-inflammatory cytokine signals like the interleukin 1 and the TNF alpha, which contributes to systemic inflammation. The body also tries to stabilize the joint by forming bone spurs or osteophytes, which can restrict movement. And often, crucially, a player and often a crucial player is overlooked. The muscles around the knee, particularly the quadriceps, become weak and atrophied, leading to instability and further pain. All these factors contribute to the vicious cycle of knee osteoarthritis. Now let's talk about risk factors. Some things, unfortunately, we can change. Age is the strongest predictor. It's a numbers game. The longer you live, the higher the chances. Women are also more commonly affected. Genetics play a role, and a history of joint injury like a torn ACL or meniscus surgery significantly increases your risk down the line. But here's where we as lifestyle medicine practitioners shine. The modifiable risk factors are our battleground. Obesity, physical inactivity, certain occupations, muscle weakness, and a poor biomechanics are all levers we can pull to prevent, slow, or even improve knee osteoarthritis. This is where our interventions have a profound impact. Now let's hone in on the obesity knee osteoarthritis link because it's a perfect example of a vicious cycle. First, the obvious mechanical load. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with bricks every time you walk. That's what excess body weight does to your knees. For every extra pound on your frame, you're putting an additional 3 to 4 pounds of force on your knees with every single step you take. This isn't just me saying it. Studies like Mizei et al. Have demonstrated this. But it's not just mechanical. Adipose tissue, fat, isn't just inert storage. It's a metabolically active organ. It pumps out pro-inflammatory cytokines or adipokines that don't just cause systemic inflammation, but directly contribute to local joint inflammation. And what happens when your knee hurts? You move less, which leads to more weight gain, more pain, and the cycle continues. Breaking this cycle is paramount. So, how does knee osteoarthritis typically present in your clinic? The hallmark is pain, a deep, aching pain, often worse with activity, weight bearing, or prolonged standing, and usually relieved by rest. Some patients report it worsening at night. They will complain of stiffness, especially in the morning, but typically it lasts less than 30 minutes. A key differentiator from inflammatory arthritis. They will also describe gelling, where after sitting for a while, their knee feels stiff when they try to get up. You might also notice reduced range of motion, difficulty bending or straightening their knee. Sometimes they'll tell you about crepitus, that grinding, cracking, or popping sensation. And occasionally there's intermittent swelling, especially after they've been on their feet a lot. All of this culminates into significant functional limitations, struggling with chairs, walking, getting out of chair, or squatting. These are the daily struggles that erode their quality of life. How do we diagnose knee osteoarthritis? Crucially, it's primarily a clinical diagnosis. That means it comes from your careful history taking and a thorough physical examination. While the American College of Rheumatology or ACR has criteria that include things like knee pain, age over 50, that morning stiffness, signs like crepitus and tenderness, these are guides. X-rays are often ordered and they can show classic signs like joint space narrowing, bone spurs, or thickening of the bone beneath the cartilage. But here's a vital takeaway for all of us. The severity of an X-ray doesn't correlate with the patient's pain or functional limitation. I can tell you how many times I've seen a terrible looking X-ray from someone who functions quite well or a mild X-ray from someone in agony. So always remember, treat the patient, not the X-ray. Their lived experience is what truly matters. Now, let's tie this directly into the lifestyle medicine pillars that we all live and breathe. It's a perfect fit. Whole food, plant predominant eating directly combats systemic inflammation, which we now know plays a role in knee osteoarthritis and is fundamental for weight management. Regular physical activity, this is absolutely non-negotiable for knee osteoarthritis. It improves pain, function, strength, and facilitates weight loss. We'll talk much more about this later. Stress management. Chronic stress can amplify pain perception and reduce coping mechanisms. Reducing stress can directly impact how a patient experiences their knee osteoarthritis. Restorative sleep. Sleep is our body's repair shop. Poor sleep exacerbates pain and inflammation. So we have to prioritize this also. Avoidance of risky substances, reducing things like excessive alcohol or smoking reduces systemic inflammation, benefiting the whole body, including the joints. Positive social connections. This might seem indirect, but social isolation can worsen chronic pain and make adherence to lifestyle changes much harder. A supportive community enhances well-being and consistency. So you see, every single pillar is relevant to knee osteoarthritis. So where does rehab medicine fit in? Our specialty is all about functional restoration. We focus on optimizing function and quality of life for anyone with MSK conditions. Our approach is inherently comprehensive and patient-centered, and we lean heavily on non-pharmacological interventions. We are the go-to in prescribing a precise exercise plan using physical modalities, correcting biomechanical issues, and providing robust patient education. When you look at it, it's truly the perfect complement to lifestyle medicine. We are both working towards empowering patients through sustainable behavioral change, just from a slightly different angles. Now let's talk about the evidence because we as LM practitioners are all about evidence-based practice. This slide is perhaps the most important one to take away. Leading international guidelines from the American College of Rheumatology, the Osteoarthritis Research Society International, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, and even guidelines from our local societies like the Philippine College of Rheumatology, the Philippine Academy of Rehabilitation Medicine, they all consistently recommend non-pharmacological interventions as the first-line treatment for knee osteoarthritis. The core components are patient education, exercise, and weight management. Pharmacological treatments are considered adjunctive, meaning they support these core interventions but don't replace them. And surgery? That's reserved for when comprehensive conservative measures have truly been exhausted. This is a powerful message for our patients because it puts them in the driver's seat. Let's underscore the evidence for exercise. We call it exercise is medicine for a reason. Studies by Weng et al. In British Journal of Sports Medicine shows exercise provides pain relief and functional improvement comparable to oral meds. It's not just helpful, it's a powerful therapeutic intervention. Another systematic review by Jewell et al. In the British Journal of Sports Medicine affirmed the strong evidence for land-based therapeutic exercise. The key message here is simple. Exercise is a powerful tool. It is often more effective than pills, and when prescribed correctly, it has minimal side effects. It is the ultimate lifestyle medicine intervention for knee osteoarthritis. And let's not forget the incredible impact of weight loss. I often share the result of the IDEA trial. That's the intensive diet and exercise for arthritis trial led by Mizey in 2004, published in Arthritis and Rheumatism. This landmark study showed that just 5 to 10% reduction in body weight in overweight or obese patients led to significant improvements in both pain and function. Think about what a 5 to 10% weight loss means for someone. Furthermore, research by Blidal and colleagues in osteoarthritis and cartilage has demonstrated a clear dose-response relationship. The more weight loss, the greater the symptom improvement. So what's the clinical pearl for your practice? Don't let patients be discouraged by large weight goals. Even a modest 5% weight loss can provide really meaningful relief and kickstart their journey towards better health. Every pound counts. When we in rehab medicine approach knee osteoarthritis, we build our treatment plans around the six key components, which I will call pillars of rehab in osteoarthritis. You will see how beautifully this integrate with our lifestyle medicine framework. First, patient education and self-management. Second, therapeutic exercise, the core movement prescription. Third, weight management strategies. Fourth, physical modalities and manual therapy. Next, assistive devices and bracing. And sixth, cope, pain coping strategies. So we are going to dive into each of these. Let's start with patient education. This is often the first and the most critical step. We need to demystify osteoarthritis. Patients often come to us believing their knee is bone on bone, and that any movement will just wear it out more. We must correct this misconception. Movement is not harmful. In fact, it is beneficial. It lubricates the joints, strengthens supporting structures, and reduces pain. This often involves explaining pain science, helping them understand that pain is a protective signal and not always indicative of ongoing tissue damage. This education can dramatically reduce fear avoidance behaviors. We also teach activity pacing. It's not about pushing through excruciating pain, but finding the right balance of activity and rest to avoid flare-ups. We encourage collaborative, realistic goal setting, what matters to them. And finally, we focus on self-efficacy, building their belief that they can manage their condition and live a full life. This is our bread and butter in LM, and it's essential for knee osteoarthritis. Next up, the absolute foundation for knee osteoarthritis. From a rehab and LM perspective, therapeutic exercise. Why is it so crucial? Well, it strengthens the muscles surrounding the joint, particularly the quadriceps, which are like the shock absorbers of the knee. Stronger muscles mean improve stability and reduce load on the joint. Exercise also acts like a sponge for your joint. It increases joint lubrication and helps nourish the cartilage. It improves your sense of where your body is in space, what we call proprioception, and enhances balance, significantly reducing the risk of falls, especially important for older adults. Beyond the biomechanical benefits, exercise reduces pain and inflammation, improves mood, helps with sleep, and of course facilitates weight loss. So what types of exercises are we talking about? It's not just one thing. Aerobic exercise. We start with low impact activities like walking, cycling, swimming, or using an elliptical. These are excellent for cardiovascular health, building endurance, and burning calories to aid in weight loss, all without excessive joint stress. Strength training, this is absolutely critical. We focus on the muscles around the knee, the quadriceps, especially the inner quad muscles, the vastus medialis obliquus, the hamstring, the gluteals, and even the core. These muscles provide dynamic stability and absorb shock, protecting the joint. Flexibility and range of motion exercises. Gentle stretching helps maintain or improve how far the knee can bend and straighten, preventing stiffness. And finally, balance and proprioception training. Exercises like single leg stands or practicing Tai Chi can significantly reduce fall risk and improve overall stability. It's a comprehensive approach tailored to the individual. When prescribing exercise, there are a few considerations that are non-negotiable. Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, start low, go slow. A gradual progression is absolutely essential to avoid those frustrating flare-ups that can derail adherence. Secondly, teach your patients to use pain as a guide, not a stopper. It's not about zero pain. A little muscle soreness after exercise is normal. That's good pain. But sharp increasing joint pain during or after activity is bad pain and means we need to modify it. Thirdly, individualization is critical. You must tailor the program to the patient's current functional level, their medical conditions, and crucially, their preferences. If they hate swimming, they won't do it. Find what they enjoy. And finally, while home exercise programs are vital for consistency, studies have shown that initial supervision, often by a physical therapist, can be incredibly beneficial for teaching proper technique and building confidence. Now let's get practical with some sample exercise progressions. For someone just starting or in significant pain, we begin with the gentlest options, isometrics. These are muscle contractions without joint movement, like simply tightening the quad muscles called the quad sets or pressing the heel into the bed for hamstring sets. This build strength without any joint stress. Gentle range of motion exercises, simple movements like heel slides, where they slide their heel up towards their buttocks while lying down, or bending and straightening the knee while sitting. Supported aerobics, stationary cycling, where the bike supports the weight, or aquatic exercises in a pool are fantastic. Low impact strengthening, wall slides, where they lean against a wall and slide down into a partial squat, mini squats with very limited range, seated knee extensions with light ankle weights are also great. The key is pain-free movement. As pain improves and strength builds, we progress to intermediate exercises. For aerobics, we can move to brisk walking or using the elliptical machines. Strengthening becomes more dynamic, standing terminal knee extensions with a resistance bands, step up, gluteal bridges, even lunges, shallow range with a shallow range of motion. Resistance bands can be fantastic for adding challenges in various planes. Balance drills like tandem stance where one foot is directly in front of the other or single leg balance with support initially are introduced. And we start incorporating more functional movements that mimic daily activities like repeated sit to stands from a chair or practicing stair climbing, focusing on proper mechanics. This is where patients really start to feel their capabilities returning. For those who have made significant progress and are motivated, we can move into advanced progressions. Aerobics might include light jogging if the knee can tolerate it, or simply increasing the intensity and duration of their preferred activity. Strengthening can involve higher resistance weight training, and for some, even very gentle plyometrics like small hops if joint integrity allows. We continue with more complex functional movements. Balance can be challenged on unstable surfaces like foam pads or with dynamic balance exercises where they move their limbs while balancing. And importantly, we encourage the integration of activities like Tai Chi, yoga, or Pilates, always ensuring they are modified as needed for the knee. This not only builds strength and flexibility, but also mindfulness and body awareness, which are crucial for long-term self-management. The goal is to get them back doing the activities they love. Now, let's be real. Patients will present with barriers to exercises. And the biggest one is often, but it hurts. Dok, ang sakit na nga pinag-exercise mo pa ako. When they say pain is a barrier, we address it head on. We reiterate activity pacing, emphasize those low impact options we just discussed, and talk about pre-activity pain management. A gentle warm up, maybe some topical analgesics like the clofenac gel or heat can make a huge difference. If they express fear of further damage, Doc, di ba lalong masisira ang tuhod ko pag nag-exercise ako? We gently but firmly reiterate that movement lubricates their joints and strengthens those vital supporting structures. It's helping, not hurting. For lack of motivation or time, this is where our LM coaching skills shine. Small, achievable goals are key. 5 minutes is better than zero. Help them integrate activity into their daily routine. Park farther away, take the stairs, and leverage social support like a walking body. If obesity is a barrier, start with non-weight bearing exercises. Water therapy is excellent. And remember to simultaneously emphasize dietary changes as a primary driver of weight loss. Address the barriers directly, empathetically, and practically. The next component is weight management. We've already discussed the significant impact of weight on both the mechanical load and the inflammatory processes. This is truly where lifestyle medicine strength lies. Your expertise in nutrition science, behavioral change, motivational interviewing, it is crucial here. From a rehab medicine perspective, our contribution is in helping to adapt exercise for larger body sizes, ensuring it is safe and effective. We also guide patients on how activity can contribute to calorie expenditure. And importantly, we monitor how the knee responds to weight loss, helping them to adjust the exercise program as their pain and function improve. We are on the same team here, reinforcing the same vital message. From a practical standpoint, what does weight management look like for our knee osteoarthritic patients? For dietary intervention, you are the experts here. A whole food, plant predominant approach provides anti inflammatory benefits that extend beyond the knee to the entire body. Portion control and mindful eating are foundational. Reducing ultra processed foods and added sugars is a game changer. For some patients, especially those with severe obesity or significant limitation, a very low calorie diet under close medical supervision can provide rapid initial weight loss, as shown by Blidal et al. In 2014, and can be highly motivating to get them moving. Of course, physical activity is integrated consistently and progressively. This is a critical component for calorie expenditure. And finally, behavioral therapy. This is an invaluable tools to address the habits, mindset, and emotional eating patterns that often hinder sustainable weight loss. It's a multi-pronged attack on excess weight. Now let's talk about the physical modalities and manual therapy. These are often used by physical therapists to support the overall plan. Heat and cold Heat and cold therapy are simple but effective. Manual therapy, it often provides short-term relief, allowing the patient to engage more effectively in exercises. Electrotherapy or TENS may provide temporary pain relief, which again can facilitate participation in exercise. It's always used as an adjunct, never a standalone treatment. Sometimes our patients need a little extra help, and that's where assistive devices and bracing come in. Assistive devices like canes or walkers can be game changers. A crucial tip for your patients, if they use a cane for knee pain, it should be held on the opposite side of the affected knee. This helps shift weight away from the painful joint. Orthotics or shoe inserts are sometimes used, but the evidence for their efficacy is mixed, typically showing small effects. And then there's bracing, specifically the unloader braces. These are custom fitted braces designed to shift the load away from the most painful compartment of the knee, often the medial side. These are prescribed judiciously but can offer significant relief. Our final component is pain coping strategies. Chronic pain isn't just physical, it deeply impacts mood, thoughts, and behaviors. CBT helps patients identify and change maladaptive thoughts and behaviors related to their pain. Mindfulness and meditation practices can enhance pain acceptance and reduce anxiety. Deep breathing exercises or progressive muscle relaxation can also lower stress levels, which reduces pain perception. And finally, sleep hygiene. We know that poor sleep can significantly exacerbate pain, creating a vicious cycle. Addressing sleep issues is a fundamental part of comprehensive pain management. For complex chronic conditions like knee osteoarthritis, interdisciplinary collaboration truly is the gold standard. No single practitioner holds all the answers, and our patients benefit most when we work together. As a lifestyle medicine physician, you oversee the holistic plan, address the root causes, and provide essential medical oversight. The rehab medicine specialist diagnosed the MSK issues, prescribe, prescribes the overall rehabilitation plan, manages non-surgical pain, and oversees the functional restoration. The physical therapist is hands-on, designing and implementing tailored exercise programs, providing manual therapy and gait training. Sometimes an occupational therapist is needed. A registered dietitian is crucial for individualized nutrition counseling. And finally, a psychologist or mental health professional is invaluable for addressing pain coping, managing depression or anxiety related to chronic pain, and supporting behavioral changes. When all these pieces come together, the patient receives truly comprehensive and integrated care. So knowing all of this, when might you as an LM practitioner consider referring to a rehab med specialist? If your patient has persistent pain despite your initial LM interventions, if they're experiencing significant functional limitation that are truly impacting their daily life, if there's a need for a highly detailed exercise prescription that might be beyond what your primary PT resources can provide, when consideration of bracing or assistive devices becomes necessary, for complex cases with multiple comorbidities or significant biomechanical issues. And sometimes, if there's a need for interventional pain procedures like injections to serve as a bridge to reduce pain enough so that they can participate in the crucial exercise and lifestyle changes. While injections aren't a core LM strategy, they can sometimes be a necessary tool to open the door to effective rehabilitation and lifestyle management. Think of us as your partners in maximizing function. Thank you very much. Dr. May Dicena will be presenting on the lifestyle and rehab management of a patient with knee osteoarthritis.